Anyone ever told you sound like Steve Jobs? First time I've ever heard it. Any updates on the cool game sound idea of dynamically changing music? I'm working on a few ideas myself. Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, my game Legends of Valor, one of the things that I've been thinking about was the idea of dynamically generated, algorithmically generated music. So one of the problems with video games is that the soundtrack, no matter how much money you spend on it, usually the duration of the soundtrack is much smaller than the actual playtime. So maybe you have 8 hours of sound, 100 hours of playtime. It's pigeonhole principle. You're going to have something repeat itself. And so the sound effects and soundtracks, they tend to get stale after a little while. And then, it gets annoying if it's way, way, way too long. So the point of algorithmically generated or dynamic music is the concept that events in the game world will automatically generate unique music to those events. So instead of having an 8-hour fixed soundtrack, for example, you have an unlimited soundtrack, which will always be new, distinct, and different. The challenge is to make the music aesthetically appealing. If machines could write beautiful music, we probably wouldn't have Katy Perry and pop stars and these people. They'd just be completely replaced by AI-driven stars. In fact, we see that happening in certain places, like Japan. There's a holographic music artist. It's not real. It's like an anime character that is wildly successful. So the tech for algorithmically generated music is indeed there. In my video game Legends of Valor that we're working on, one of the things that we're exploring is, can we come up with a really elegant way of doing algorithmically generated music and using that to complement the existing soundtrack of the game. Now, my wish list would be to get Max Richter and Ramin Djawadi to work together to create the core soundtrack of the game. Ramin Djawadi did Game of Thrones and Westworld and all these other things. He's a great music artist, and he also does soundtracks for games. And Max Richter is a very, very talented composer as well. And so I think their styles would work very, very well for what we wanted to do with Legends of Valor. But you still run into that core problem of, that will be finite, playtime could be not. So to blend those two together and use the soundtrack as inspiration for the boundaries of what the algorithmically generated music could do is a really interesting topic. Now, there are programmatic frameworks to generate computer music. My favorite is Euterpe. It actually comes from the Haskell world, the Haskell School of Music. It was a Yale project, and a guy who came up with it recently died of cancer, but his graduate students have carried on the project, and it still is going on. And you can use Euterpe to build pretty much anything, and you can do a lot of really experimental machine-generated music with it. It's very bespoke. Probably in the Python world and other worlds, there's larger, better frameworks, and whatever language we're using for the game, of course, we'd use a framework there, likely JavaScript. But there are certainly adherents who think about this and work on this, and it's something that really does interest me. And I think we could do something really cool with it.